Wonderful.
Excellent.
Good morning, listeners. You're listening to Ammar and
Jalf.
Live on our weekly radio show right here on Spice FM.
Each week we'll bring some views, news and one or two clues from the business world.
Asian Business Connections aims to connect, support and promote the Asian and wider communities.
We'll be talking shop quite literally and not just corner shops. So they look to start a business, have an existing business, or you just want to talk business, we can help.
We can't help. We can't help, and we do help. Yeah. Bit of a sad week. So.
Yeah, it's been a very, very sad week. I think it's only right that we begin with the somber news that we got on, was it Tuesday, late afternoon, early evening, Ammar, when Dawood Mohammed, who's been on Spice FM over the years, he's a really important member of the community. I think you can share a lot more than what I could. I was an accountant. I mean, such a good guy. We can go into who he was shortly, but I might just very quickly touching upon the funeral. I can say that it's been a very, very, very long time that the streets were all cordoned off. I mean, the amount of traffic around Elzik, it was going, I mean, the whole of Elzik Road going to Ammar Brothers all the way past in front of Bilal. Is it Bilal Jama Masjid? Is that the right way to pronounce it? Jamil, and the whole of kind of Tweed Street, going all the way down to Hartington Street. The cars, they were just full. There was no space anywhere. There must have been at least 2,000 people that were there at the at the Zanaza, we call it, the funeral itself at the mosque. And following that, I mean, I know that you got to the cemetery quite early, and I got there probably not too long after you had to go to your meeting, but they took a very long time to get to the burial, because imagine the kind of trail of cars leaving one by one and trying to get out, because obviously the hearse that was right next to the mosque itself, so it was the last one to leave. So but there was a lot of people that made the way to the burial itself. It's very, very sad, very, very sad day yesterday. Can't still believe that Dawood Mohammed is gone, and we buried him yesterday.
It is absolutely shocking. So,
you were with him not too long ago. Was it on Saturday that you were with him, Ammar?
Yeah, I need to. This potentially could be one of the last photos of him. And I just want to share it, because it just shows what a beautiful, lovely, genuine person he was. You can see it.
Yeah.
That said, it was he'd had a traumatic time. At least in the brief conversation I'd had with him. He told me he was in hospital for a couple of months last year, and then had scaled back a lot of. He wasn't telling me anything in confidence, so I'm certainly not breaking any confidence here. But you know, he told me he'd scaled back all of his activities and everything. You know, he was working part-time and the importance of looking after your mental health as well.
Yeah.
And how there's a huge stigma in that. But let me, because
I mean, I must say, Ammar, the last time, if you go and dig out the, oh, you've got it here. Oh, gosh. What day was that, Ammar?
This was Saturday evening. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And where was that at?
Wynyard.
And what, oh, was that at the wedding, Ammar, that you were talking about?
And it was curious, right? Because everybody was at this wedding. And it was so nice to see so many people. But this was myself and Dawood.
My goodness me. I mean, God, he just looks
really young.
He looks 40 years old. He looks so happy. He looks so healthy there. And 2 days, so it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 3 days later.
2 days later.
2 days later. Yeah, 2 days later, Dawood's no longer. I mean, it is. It's just so sad. But I think in these moments, it's probably natural for everyone to take a rain check, really, about life and what life means and what are the important things in life, because it can end so fast. It's a huge shock. I mean,
it's really sad. Really sad. I mean, we drove down to Bradford on Monday, and I mentioned him to you.
Yeah. You mentioned the event, yeah.
Oh, I was in.
I mean, I felt so sorry for his father, because he was absolutely shell-shocked. It was as though that he couldn't really, drag himself to walk towards the grave. And
well, that's Jalf, burying your children.
Yeah.
Must clearly be like one of the worst things any parent
Must be the most depressing thing, because I looked at him and he was absolutely traumatized. He was just numb. There was tears in his eyes. There was obviously everyone trying to console him, naturally, but I mean, that's still not it's gonna give you some warmth, but it's still not gonna take away that sheer pain that you would have been going through. And all the more, it's more shocking just because of the fact that of what you've just shown, a beautiful photograph just 2 days before, and it's just touched so many people. He was there's a moment I shared with my brothers yesterday, that kind of that Dawood shared with me a few years back now, and I thought, wow, what a boy, because as Muslims, there's you have to pray 5 times a day, and one of the prayers, Ammar, it's the Fajr prayers, which is early in the morning, and normally, if you do your 5 times prayers a day, you would get out of bed on your normal routine. Let's say you've got work at 9, you get up at 7:30. Then you would get up and do that prayer if you're religiously inclined, and start your day. But the right time to do it is actually at sunrise. But you have to set your alarm to get up specifically at that time. And I remember Dawood saying to me that, oh yeah, how's things? We got into a conversation about prayers, and he said, oh no, I get up every morning for Fajr prayers at the crack of dawn. And I was like, wow. I said, well, every single day you kind of do. And that was, I think it was one of the first times that someone young and not an imam or someone on those lines, does that make sense? Someone young who does a normal routine in terms of the work that he does, went to that extent and that level. So look, we hope that Dawood is blessed, and he's in peace, and you know, he is taken to the highest position in heaven, and hopefully God will rest his soul and give his family the patience that they're going to need and the strength to get through. But I guess all we can say on Spice FM that we as a community, members of the community, we're always there to support members within our community, and anything that anyone needs, you know, I'm sure as a community, as the community showed yesterday, they're there with everyone and their families, whatever they may need us for.
Yeah. He was a beautiful person. He was a beautiful person. He was only 40. So
40 years old.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Like I was saying, Ammar, I saw him for the first time in a couple of years. He came into the restaurant with his dad and a couple of other guys, and I kind of looked at the bill and I was like, my God, man, these guys are eating a lot, aren't they? They were like really enjoying themselves, and it was a big bill. So I think I put some complimentary items in for them and stuff. And then I saw him again. He was back again last week, and then I feel so regretful because I didn't go and say hello to him, because I saw him, I was in the middle of something, and then I didn't get around to go and seeing him after that because I think I left. And that was only last week. So it's everyone's got something to say about Dawood, because I went to my chiropractor, and Dawood was her accountant and Dawood was her patient, and she only saw him last Tuesday as well, and she saw Dawood's dad on Tuesday. She was like, hold on, because when she got the news, she was like, hold on, well, I just saw Dawood's dad on Tuesday, but he must have been fine, obviously, otherwise his dad wouldn't have been here. So I think that's why she said, well, it's got to have happened sometime after Tuesday afternoon. And everyone that you turn to has got something beautiful to say about Dawood.
He was just, I mean, he was on our board, you know, he was on our professional board. He'd got heavily involved in ABC. He was actually our accountant for a bit, you know, and both his father and Dawood, really good people, and you know, we'd supported them. He came and spoke at ABC events and things like that. Anyway, really wonderful guy, genuinely authentic. I never heard him say a bad word about anything or anyone. You know, and was quite focused. I admired him, you know, and his routines and his, right, I get up, I go and work out, because he worked out. He worked out with his wife, you know, which was a wonderful thing to do. I'd regularly say, you know, hadn't they done so much together? Anyway, it is sad, and may God bless him and his family, as you say, and may we all take a minute to reflect on those that have sadly passed, and even more critically consider those around us, and try and make the time and take the time to talk, you know, because the world we now live in is incredibly stressful, filled with so much pain and pressure, and all anybody ever does, it's like the last few years have accelerated time, as well as what we try and do and put onto ourselves, you know, as in constantly distracted, incredible noise, and don't ever get the time to ourselves, never mind those that are really important to us. So, you know, if anything, take a minute to reflect, and just take a minute every day. Gift yourself a minute or two every single day, and reach out to talk. Doesn't matter what color you are, what gender, what your beliefs are. There should be no stigma in talking to someone if you're having any type of concerns. And that's really important.
Mm. Absolutely, Ammar. And I think in these moments is what these things become so more important, but we do need to adjust our lives in these moments. And I guess that's part of the whole, I mean, part of the reason why we're encouraged to be part of the zanaza and the burial. It's just so that we can do exactly what you've just said. That becomes more prominent in our minds, and we think more about life and the importance of life, as opposed to the rat race that we are in, which we can't avoid. But I guess we need to adjust and think a little bit more about the important things. So yes, if anyone can take anything from death and this show, is just, you know, look at life with a little bit more humility, put materialistic things to one side a little bit more, and focus on each other.
So we do need to do a bit more consideration. So this week, Jalf, it was anyway, whilst it's absolutely shocking and genuinely depressing, selfishly, I'm so glad I seen him.
Absolutely.
You know, as in, like, I'm, you know, it was a real privilege and honor to have seen him, just literally. You know, then I wish I'd clearly could see him far more.
Yeah.
You know, is the thing. And then on Monday, we it sounds a bit trite and contrite now, moving on to other things going on. But I suppose Dawood would want us to sort of not stop and continue. And we call it sabr, you know, as in it's a combination of sabr means patience, perseverance, you know, sort of
Strength.
hold your nerve. Is what we're suggesting. And then on Monday, Jalf, we went to Bradford.
Yep.
And that was an interesting experience, being sat in the car with you.
It was. It's been a long time. Yeah, it's been a long time since we've done something, because we used to do a lot more of these things, because you used to be dashing around the country winning all of these different awards and accolades. But it was nice to make that trip to Bradford. I'm not really too sure about Bradford winning the capital of culture, though, Ammar, I must say. I mean, capital of culture, Bradford and Newcastle have never. When we had the chance to win capital of culture and Liverpool won it instead, I'm still grieving over that. It was in 2006 or 7 or something on those lines. A long time ago, but my goodness, it made such a big difference to Liverpool, didn't it?
Oh, incredible what happened to Liverpool. I just think it's amazing. So yeah, you're absolutely right. The evening was, it's funny, right? Because they're very traditional restaurants, aren't they? Like, as in, they're still very Indian. And I suppose, yeah, I know that sounds particularly odd, given the fact that it's an Indian restaurant, but then, and people want to go and experience an Indian restaurant, and the food is undoubtedly good from an authentic point of view. But then when you've experienced, you know, sort of Dabawal, and in particular Kai Kai, you then realize that, gosh, it's slightly behind at the times, or actually you're very ahead of the curve type of thing, which is wonderful, right?
I think Ammar's probably about the city as well, though. I think Newcastle, for me, and we've discussed and touched upon this over the years, I think Newcastle is one of the most dynamic, vibrant, well-to-do cities outside of London. I think the people in Newcastle, I mean, you got, the Geordies, very, very kind of friendly, nice people, working class background, but there is a lot of successful, well-to-do people in Newcastle. People of Newcastle, they're very well traveled. I think they have been spoiled over the years in terms of the food scene. So for us, all we've done is catered for what the city is essentially. And I don't think Bradford is Newcastle at all. I mean, maybe it's Leeds, but not Bradford. I think even Leeds, they say it's a big city and it's got lots going on and this, that, and the other. But I think Newcastle is a much nicer city to what Leeds is. It's got a beautiful nucleus. It's got the rivers. But in terms of the food and the leisure sector, I think we are up there with anywhere else in the country. So I think if you put it in context, I think Bradford is way, way, way behind Newcastle in terms of the demands of people in Newcastle, because like I said, they've been quite spot, and the demand, the food that people in Newcastle have been used to over the years, that's obviously taken the city, the foodie levels in terms of understanding of the cuisine to a much higher level to that of Bradford, because in Bradford, most of the restaurants, like historically, I'm a Mumtaz. We would travel from Newcastle to go to Mumtaz, wouldn't we? Remember, all the families would be like a special treat to go to Mumtaz on a Sunday, and it was so incredibly busy, like incredibly busy. And that was the benchmark, I guess, in many ways. So if you imagine 20 years ago, Ammar, in Newcastle, there wasn't anything remotely comparable to that of Mumtaz, was there? Where would you go in Newcastle 20 years ago? But I think Bradford stayed at that type of level, and Newcastle over the last 20 years has really, really evolved into a city where, you got, let's take away what in the Indian restaurant sector, the likes of House of Tides, a Michelin star restaurant regarded as one of the top 10 restaurants in the entire country, Cafe 21 with that particular group and what they bring to the dining scene in the city. Blackfriars, what Andy Hook does in terms of elevating the level of cuisine, the refinement of it in the city. So I think Newcastle, I mean, you wouldn't have these type of establishments in Bradford. I mean, it was really a nice event for their levels. They have their levels because of the dynamic of their city. Maybe after they win Capital of Culture, it may be an opportunity for that city to grow and develop and evolve itself and become more refined. But currently, I think they're catering for what the market wants.
Oh, undoubtedly. And I think it's useful and nice for us to go and go out and see what else is going on. But you're absolutely right. For me, we're really spoilt in Newcastle. We're very, very fortunate. It is a wonderful sort of place with a breadth and depth of food, leisure, hospitality, and it's growing and growing and growing. Quite a significant number of independents, because you go to certain cities and it's national chains, isn't it? There's limited independence. But Newcastle, we're very fortunate to have a vast number of wonderful independents, and that passion, that positivity features not just in the people of the Northeast in Newcastle, but actually in everything that we do. So the food that's created, it's a very positive food experience, isn't it? It's a very passionate food experience.
Yeah, well, just touching upon what you said, someone asked me a question about this. I mean, when I was growing up, I was so fascinated by these like chains. I was like, oh my God, you know, Frankie and Benny's, they've got like 100 of them, and it started off from New York, and then Nando's. Oh my God, what an amazing restaurant concept, and TGI Fridays. I was blown away. And then as you begin to understand food and you focus on quality, then you realize, actually, hold on, the chains aren't that good at all. In fact, the chains are very, very bang on average, because everything is pre-cooked, pre-processed. All they do is try and find ways of reheating and serving, and there's not chefs in the kitchen, they're cooks and this, that, and the other. They're not cooking from scratch. And like you said, Ammar, the thing about the independence, I think if you have a city of independent restaurants and you have the public who are eating in these independent restaurants on a daily basis, when the chains do come along and they're able to compare and contrast, they'll go to the independents. I mean, they'll go to the chains once or twice, but I think ultimately the chains will find it harder to succeed because they can't change who they are and what they are. And the independents will always offer higher quality. And maybe that's why you don't see as many chains in Newcastle as other cities.
And that's the thing, and you're absolutely right. You know, in that regard, it's like
I think you pay homage to the public because the public know their food, which is like a brilliant thing.
Well, it is, but everyone sort of wants to experience. You know, I mean, God, Jalf, years ago, I got you know, slightly involved in leisure. Got involved in a venue, created something very unique, not dissimilar to your Carlisle experience. I done something in Sunderland, and sadly, it was the wrong time and wrong place. You know, and that's what's curious, right? Is that had that been Newcastle, it would have been sort of amazing. And when you find the right location with the right time, that truly transforms.
Yeah, of course, and it's all part of the learning curve, isn't it? And it's all pitching the right product to the right location, the right city, the right people at the right time.
Of course it is. Of course it is. So that was Monday, Tuesday. Gosh, Jalf, what did you do on Tuesday?
I'm trying to think. It's a long time ago.
Funny, isn't it? Imagine saying Tuesday was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's just because the days are packed so much. On Tuesday, I think I would have had, just did my usual thing. I think I had my training, caught up on some work that I missed out on Monday. Try to get on top of just the usual routine. Nothing that dramatic. Yeah.
So I met one of the pro vice chancellors from Newcastle University, an incredible person. Do you know the other thing that I love about our region is the quality and caliber of people that we have access to and that are here in our universities, in our leaders, you know, all of that. We continue to trailblaze, right? So this professor led Edinburgh University Innovation and Enterprise, and was doing so at Newcastle. Anyway, great guy. And then I'm working with an organisation in life sciences, Fibrofind, which is the leading authority on fibrosis and improving and saving lives and things like that. So that was really interesting, because I love getting out of my comfort zone, right? I'm not a doctor, I've got no clinical experience, but learning about sort of a variety of technical, really in-depth type of subject is so interesting. You know, it's so interesting. And then looking at how you can innovate that from a commercial point of view, right? Because people look through things through a particular lens. So yeah, it's amazing. And then Wednesday, looking after the kids, and I took them all to South Shields, the fair, and then the soft play, and then the toy shop. I just love spoiling kids. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Obviously, their mothers probably don't agree with it. 'Cause it's just a curious thing, but yeah, it's so that was nice, but it's hard because it's still a working day, and you're still in the back of your head. You're still trying to do work type things. And then yesterday, I was at Flamingo Studios for a podcast.
Where's that?
It's just at the Usburn, so I went to do a podcast there, and you'll have to do it, Jalf. I'll have to tell her to get, because she's really good, and it's such a, you'd love the creative aspect of Flamingo Studios. It's all so energetic, so bright, so colourful. And Ashley King is a wonderful person who just sort of spends most of her time identifying what invigorates individuals and inspires them and what that. So I've done that, and then I shot across to Sunderland. And I don't know if you've been to Sunderland lately, Jack, but it is incredible. We think that the developments that are happening in our city are big. Go and have a look at theirs.
I mean,
their city hall is just amazing, amazing. And I was with the Shadow Minister for Business and Industry Strategy, and with the local MP and lots of business and organisation leaders, and some of the conversations are just, yeah, that's what I love. I love people sort of talking about stuff that I don't know anything about, because it's like so interesting, because and the way they talk, and the level of intelligence and experience and expertise, because you just like sort of immerse yourself in these places and spaces, and all of a sudden you get a better and deeper appreciation of things. But yeah, so that was an interesting lunchtime session where I contributed, and then dashed to Dowd's funeral, and said some prayers at the cemetery and such like, and then was down at the Helix, which is our big academic innovation space with the Centre for Process Innovation. So I met with them and explored how we could collaborate and do more to innovate. And then didn't finish work till like sort of 7, and then I was sat in front of a computer till 10:30 last night, and started again this morning, and it's just like, oh my gosh. Anyway, that was my week, Jeff.
yeah,
just talking about our weeks.
It's just all packed full of just so much to get through, and the challenges are so big, and the weeks go so fast. It means that we have to do more. That is that rat race, and unfortunately, because of the responsibility and the dependency on others to deliver certain deadlines and projects and work and A, B, C, and D, we can't get away from it. And that's obviously the challenge of balancing that. But I don't think that we're alone in all of that. I think there's a couple of things that maybe we should touch up on. We've got about 20 minutes to go. I think the Conservative race is well underway. There was a bit of an unfortunate incident. Did you see that when they were doing the head-to-head interviews, and the lady that was doing the interview, she actually collapsed whilst she was doing the interview, and then they had to put a halt to it. Yeah, they had to put a halt to the whole head-to-head head, because this lady, she fainted and collapsed right in front of Liz Truss when she was given an answer to a question. So that then came to an end. But I think the race is obviously heating up, and it's great to have Rishi Sunak, first Asian, potentially fighting to be the MP. I think Sajid Javid had done it previously as well, didn't he? But it'd be nice for Rishi to get it, but I've got a feeling that he's not going to be able to get through the finishing line, because I think Liz Truss will probably have more support amongst the Conservative members. Is that kind of right analysis of the current situation?
Yeah, well, I think so. Sadly, sometimes people say they want change, but then act somewhat differently. So I didn't, and I wasn't aware of the challenges and the fact that someone had collapsed on TV.
Yeah, so that happened, but then along with that, Ammar, the biggest thing that's the biggest worry is the announcements of the potential gas hikes, the price hikes for energy, come October and then come in January, and they're going to go up. Apparently, they're going to go up again by 60%. Now, I'm a little bit confused here, because if we don't get much gas, we only get about 1% or 2% gas from Russia. So if we're not dependent on Russian gas, why?
Well, that's not quite true, is it?
Well, that's
I don't believe that is a fact. And the other thing is, a lot of our electricity, right, is generated through gas-powered power stations, right? So nuclear, for whatever strange reason, we'd stopped, and we're now having to restart, but it's taken 5-10 years to sort that out. Wind, it's not good enough. And coal, which was something that we were incredible with, was also closed down. So we're very dependent upon.
It's
where did you get that fact from?
I think just I'm not sure, it's just somewhere, I may have heard it somewhere, but I mean, I know that they've said categorically that Germany, 40% of German gas is dependent on Russia. So if there's any issues with Russian gas, German economy would suffer the most. And in the UK, the dependency on Russian gas, I've always been told, is not too substantial. Now, these price increases, Ammar, things go up by 60% and 70%. And when you look at everything, especially in business, I'm just a bit baffled as to the cost increases. They're just absolutely horrendous. They're dramatic. And I think it's going to cause a whole lot of people lots and lots of problems. And I mean, what do you do to tackle all of these cost increases? There's only so much that you can do. How much cost savings can you have within a business to be able to see?
You can't have that much, Jalf. You simply cannot have that much. So Martin Lewis became very vocal yesterday, and understandably so, and had consequently sort of said, Boris, Liz, Rishi, get in a room and sort it all out. But the thing is and I was listening to some of the analogy of how utility operators operate, right? So they have a top core and they have an operating core. So where we're seeing Centrica and Total and all of these energy suppliers making billions of pounds, the operating company is actually losing money because of how they structure themselves, which is a very interesting approach. The thing is, I don't believe it's simply a case of saying to those companies, you need to do more and give away more and whatever else, right? Because there were certain periods of time. I mean, look at how many energy companies have simply gone bust. You know, you cannot get, I'm sure you cannot get an energy supply. Lots of people are simply unable to change supplies. And if they do, if you want a fixed price, it's like, it's you know, it is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's going to be some. I can see major problems ahead for a lot of businesses, and I just don't think that. I mean, I know restaurants that are closing in the day. They close an extra day to save utilities, this and that. But I mean, how much of that can you actually do? And how is that going to salvage your business? That, oh well, we're going to close one day, and that's going to help us save us energy. Or we're going to close at lunches and just open in the evenings because of the cost of energy. I mean, I'm just, and I know that people have been doing that because there are restaurants in Newcastle where I've had a conversation with the owners, and they've done that. Now that is, I think that's quite extreme, personally.
Sorry, say that again. You've done what?
There's a lot of restaurants somewhere that have closed lunches because they can't afford.
There's a number that are actually closed during the week.
On a Monday and Tuesday, there's a lot of restaurants in the quayside that are simply shut. They just rely on the busy days to be able to and make sure it's really, really busy because of all the costs are so high. I think what are you going to do next? What's after that when the costs keep on going up? What's going to be your next challenge? And I think these are unprecedented times, Ammar. It's things that we've never experienced ever before in history. These type of cost increases, and we really got to be thinking outside of the box to kind of get through this. And it's whether it's ever going to settle down. I just got a horrible feeling that things are never going to settle down ever again, because interest rates haven't even started to go up yet. We're not even seeing the impact of inflation as yet.
Mm.
When we do start to feel those two start to kick in, I think it's going to get, a lot worse. So it all seems to be a lot of doom and gloom. I know that we're getting on. I think many people, yet whilst they know that there are energy issues, are they fundamentally looking to change their lifestyles and way that they manage their business? I think maybe they're not, because it's probably a bit too soon, because they're not seeing it firsthand yet. But I guess you probably need to pre-plan before it kicks in.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. There's going to be a huge aspect of we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know how to do it. Is the thing. So, yeah. What type of things could we legitimately do, John?
I mean, pray. I think Ammar, that what
on a serious note, what could we do? What could people do?
I think you have to reanalyze, obviously, all of your costs, A to Z.
What about people at home? What about those people? So I was listening to people who were genuinely crying
I've seen an ad just before we started the show on Twitter, and it was a Russian ad, and it was saying that, oh, come to Russia because we've got cheap energy.
No, there wasn't. No, there wasn't.
Honestly, there was an ad. I'll forward it to you.
No,
We've got like
so
great
ridiculous.
architecture. We've got this. We've got this. We've got this. Cost of living is really, really low. We can survive 100,000 sanctions. This is the place to be. So, oh dear.
Yeah, they might have a point.
Yeah.
It's a horrible point, but they might have one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, football, Jalf. Newcastle's playing this evening.
Yeah, Newcastle's got back-to-back games today and tomorrow. It's interesting though, Ammar. They're having two friendlies back to back.
Yeah, why are they doing that? Why?
I think I'm not sure why. It's probably just it's a final game, effectively final. It's not competitive because it's a friendly, but there is, you do give your all to these games. So there's a game against Atlanta tonight. And then tomorrow it's against Atletico Bilbao. So I'm assuming that whoever plays today, naturally they're not going to play tomorrow. So it's probably just testing the squad depth, doing a few extra little checks and tests before next Saturday's game against Nottingham Forest. So they're both, I think they're both more or less sold out. So it'd be like an exciting atmosphere.
I think there was still some tickets and things like that.
Tickets still left. Yeah, I think it'd be quite close to being sold out. It'd be a very lively atmosphere at St James's Park tonight and tomorrow. And obviously you got next Saturday, the serious business begins with a home match against Nottingham Forest. I think it's a good game. Hopefully we'll get off to a flying start because remember last season we didn't win until
first 11 games.
That was the first 14 games or something we didn't win.
And then we went on to win.
Yeah. We had an amazing kind of finish to the back end of the second half of the season. So hopefully we get off to a really good start. Hopefully there's things brewing in the background because I still feel that we need some more signings. We're still waiting for the richest owners in the world, but we're still not making the signings that we were all hoping for. I mean, we've got some great players in, but I think we need more signings. We need 3-4 more signings before the transfer window closes. And we've still got about another 30 days of that to go. I think it's a back end of August or the 1st of September when the window closes. About 3 weeks into the season. But I still think we need another striker. We need a defensive midfielder, right winger, and maybe it's another defender. I think if we can get those quality signings in those areas, I think that would give us a lot more. But saying all of that, Ammar, if we can just maintain the form that we had in the second half of last season, and if we can maintain that throughout the entire season, and just do a little bit more because of some of the newer signings that we've got, I think we can have a brilliant season. I mean, that would be top 6 form. It's not asking for too much. It's just asking for us to be able to replicate the form of last season. And I'm sure that would, other teams have improved, but so have we. But it's just a matter of can we maintain that momentum that we had. Hopefully, Eddie will be saying the same to his players and a lot more. And I mean, it's so important that we do well. It's just so important for the feel-good factor of every individual in the city.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's quite exciting if we are able to sort of go through this.
So I know that you're going along, Ammar, next week. You'll be sitting in the chairman's suite for the Nottingham Forest match, and we'll be sitting. I'll be sitting with a what do you call it? And with all the commoners in the standard seats. Well, I'll try and get a wave. I'll try and find you and wave at you.
All right, excellent. I'm sure you will see me, and yeah, it'll be hopefully an incredible experience. My son very excited and looking forward to football, and I think because they play Liverpool at the end of the month, so I'm thinking about going down there.
Yeah, well, look, if you can get a hold of the tickets for the games, it's brilliant, because there are for some people it's so sad, you know, in so many ways, that there was a lot of hardcore supporters, and I understand it completely. During the Mike Ashley era, it was torment, and I can understand why they would have given up their season tickets, and just they didn't have the willpower to stay. But then as soon as it changed, they obviously want to come back, and they just can't, because there's no season tickets available.
Yeah,
and it's like really sad for them, and it's getting to a match. It's just not easy these days to try and get a hold of a ticket. And even if you do get a hold of a ticket, Ammar, you're not sitting in those seats that you sat all those years, and in the sections that you sat all those years, and it's.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the lookout, because we don't have sort of tickets. We just sort of beg and borrow and sort of go hand in cup to wherever we can. But no, looking forward to that. I mean, other things. August is a very peculiar month anyway. Does it quieten down, Jalf, for the?
Well, it normally does, but I don't know. It's been very busy across the board at the moment. I'm not sure why, but it's been incredibly busy. It's not like a normal summer. It's been incredibly busy. Normally, June, July, August is quiet, but that's why Restaurant Week happens in the mid of August, to try and help businesses through a quiet period. But to be honest, it's been so busy. I don't know how much difference Restaurant Week is going to do. In fact, it's probably going to do the reverse, because the deals are so big that you know, we'll probably make less money. But you know, we have to be part of Restaurant Week, because it's a great initiative, and we've been part of that for.
When is it?
I think it's is it the 14th to the week of the 14th of August? Hold on, I can check for you. It's going to be the week of the 15th to the 21st of August is Restaurant Week. So that's the whole week. Most of the restaurants in the city centre, they have a huge initiative, have a huge offer, and you find them to be extremely busy. So those that do want to go, I would strongly recommend you book very, very quickly, because I think the good restaurants are probably already kind of full by now anyway.
Well, I think it's a great opportunity to support and experience the restaurants that you wouldn't potentially be normally able to. So I think it's fantastic, and it's a great initiative, and I would encourage everybody to come along and give it a go. Anyway, you've been listening to Ammar and
Jalf
live on our weekly radio show, where we've rumbled and rambled on a little bit. We didn't go through business topic of the week, but I think it was particularly important to recognise, respect, and rejoice some of our fellows out there. And you know, whatever you do, have a safe, happy, and secure weekend. It's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.